Zach Wilson is clearly not at the best moments of his career right now. The NFL star's disappointing performance with the New York Jets ended in a 10-3 loss against the New England Patriots. Wilson tried his best, but only had 9 of 22 passes for 77 yards and was sacked 4 times, good enough for a quarterback rating of just 50.8. However, what really made people mad was his refusal to take responsibility for his mediocre performance in the post-game interview. After this, several NFL analysts ripped him up for his attitude. Former NFL offensive lineman Ross Tucker said this, "I saw that clip. That to me shows he's very insecure. If you're confident with who you are as an athlete, then when you mess up, you own it." Zach Wilson was definitely on the receiving end of many harsh critics. The player threw 3 brutal picks in a devastating loss to the New England Patriots. The sad thing about his comments was that the quarterback managed to put his own supporters against him. Dan Orlovsky, for example, went on ESPN's First Take and said this, "Everyone knows I love Zach Wilson, but if I was in the same room as him right now, this is what I tell him. It's time for you to grow a pair, dude. You're not living in the Mountain West now, okay?" Orlovsky also said this about Wilson's remarks. His comments were pathetic, and they're obviously a product of his insecurity. He put the blame on everyone else but himself. However, Zach did throw for an NFL career-high 355 yards and connected twice on touchdown passes to tight end Tyler Conklin during that game against the Patriots. The 23-year-old also made a great throw of 54 yards to Garrett Wilson and landed a 63-yard catch-and-run hookup with Denzel Mims. For this reason, his coach, Robert Saleh, stated that Wilson had signs of good football. Unfortunately, he was too careless with the football. All of his 3 interceptions easily could and should have not happened. There's a difference between not caring and being aggressive, Dan Orlovsky continued. There's a difference between being confident and having an ego. As of today, Wilson plays with a lot of ego, carelessness, and recklessness with the football. One of the reasons the Jets chose Zach Wilson with the number 2 pick during the 2021 NFL Draft was because he was capable of making off-script plays. In other words, making something out of nothing. But once he started playing in the NFL, it's been a problem for him to walk the line of deciding when to throw the ball away and live to play another day and when to play hero ball. Zach didn't turn the ball over the last 3 weeks when the Jets applied a very conservative game plan, relying mainly on the running game. When plays opened up this week, Wilson made 3 bad mistakes that buried his team. "These errors are extremely reckless. You can't do these things anymore, Zach," Orlovsky stated. "You have to mature. You are responsible for your football team, and your offense is back." The Jets are currently 7-6 this season, 4-1 since Zach Wilson came back from arthroscopic knee surgery. They are a playoff contender for the first time in many seasons. The Jets have decided to go in another direction with their quarterback Mike White. Famous sportscaster Stephen A. Smith also had things to say about Wilson's actions and attitude. "Zach Wilson is trash. He's a kid playing a man's game, and he mentally proved that yesterday. No responsibility whatsoever." Former New Orleans Saints coach Sean Payton also addressed the issue with a question. "We always discuss the roster this way. Is this player going to be here when we win the next Super Bowl, or will there be someone else in his place?" NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah said, "A few things can be true. Number 1, Zach Wilson didn't play great. Number 2, he had no run game and was facing a really good defense in less than ideal conditions. Number 3, the New England offense had a run game and created the same point total. Number 4, his answer in the postgame was completely stupid. In conclusion, what we learned is that at this point in his career, Zach Wilson isn't fit to put up points against the Bill Belichick defense on a windy day without having a run game with him. This shouldn't be surprising to anyone. Also, he needs to improve his footwork, and that will help." Wilson really had the whole NFL community talking about him. During ESPN's Monday Night Football Countdown, Booger McFarland blasted Wilson and his performance against the Patriots. But what made things a little more dark Was McFarland talking about how Wilson's rich childhood meant he'll never take accountability for anything? He's a young athlete who grew up with a ton of money, said McFarland. I don't believe he's ever had to accept responsibility. So now, in the biggest stadium ever, we want this kid to accept accountability? I don't think so. McFarland continued later. The issue is that he's been bad to decent for most of the season, and for him to not get any better and then his post-game comments, his actions are adding up. Not just one. After the game, Jets head coach Robert Saleh stated that he might bench Zach next game. Jason LaCanfora came out and stated this about Wilson's entire scenario. This is a hard market, man. LaCanfora said in the In the Huddle podcast about the quarterback who threw 3 interceptions. The media will chew you up and spit you back out. It's starting to seem to me like when Sam Darnold was caught saying, "I see ghosts," I feel like I've seen this situation before, and he's not very good. And now it's in his mind, and the fans aren't happy, and the media is not buying it. According to official stats, Zach headed into Week 9 as the 34th eligible quarterback with a 71.0 passer rating and a 54.9 completion percentage. And he's 24th with a 41.7 total QBR on the season. Within 5 games, he's landed 3 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions. LaCanfora understands Zach's situation, but that didn't stop him from being realistic and sincere about what he thinks of the 23-year-old rookie. I don't see him being able to improve all that, and I don't see them getting a lot of wins, LaCanfora added about Wilson. I don't believe him. I don't buy that he's the Jets' best new quarterback. LaCanfora also quoted former NFL quarterback Matt Castle and stated that veteran Joe Flacco is the better pick for the 2 Jets quarterbacks ahead of this Sunday's home game against the Buffalo Bills. Another person to speak on the matter was retired quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, who said he thinks that Wilson still has to learn to play quarterback in the National Football League. However, lucky for Zach, not all analysts turned on him. Some had empathy for his situation and tried to talk good about him. Before the 2021 NFL Draft, sports analyst Chris Sims topped the list of the Zach Wilson hype train. While many admired Wilson's athleticism, arm, and off-platform magic, Sims went a step further and slated that the presumed number 2 overall pick would be even better than Trevor Lawrence, who a lot of people were calling the best rookie quarterback since Andrew Luck. I like Zach Wilson. The Jets have a quarterback who has the best explosive arm in the draft and a player with a lot of Rodgers, Mahomes-ish flashes. I'm pumped about him and the fit. Wilson and LaFleur can become the new Rodgers and LaFleur, Sims tweeted. Jets fans were hopeful that this would be true. However, after a disappointing rookie season with slight signs of hope at the end, there was reason to be worried. Sims, however, looked at the end of the year as a bright beacon of proof that Wilson had room for improvement. The sports analyst has continued to praise and defend Wilson during his struggles, saying that the Jets' offensive line doesn't have any run game and blaming weather conditions and anything else but Zach Wilson. Sims went to Twitter and stated the following. Zach Wilson's game versus the Patriots was obviously not great. The post-game press conference was not a good look for him either. However, the wild overreaction and cherry-picking of his worst actions to conclude that he can never be a real quarterback are also not good either. In fact, after Robert Saleh decided to bench Wilson in favor of Mike White, Sims heavily criticized the move, saying that it was going to ruin Wilson permanently. Following White's pinpoint performance against the Bears, Sims has continued to insist that the Jets are ruining Zach Wilson. It was ironic to hear that adamant statement in the same sentence as the admission that Wilson likely would not have played as well as White. If you like this video, you might like Zach Wilson's lifestyle video. What do you think is going to happen with his career next season? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching.